Okay, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, the Dungeon Muser Madison, and I will be your friendly Dungeon Master this evening. Tonight, we are continuing on with our ongoing Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign. Whoops, where am I going here? There we go, camera left. We are playing the Tales of the Demon Lord campaign so far. We have been to this point, and we are continuing on. Tonight, we will be... So I suppose, first off, if you are intending on playing through this this campaign, there will be spoilers. So if this is something you think you might play at some point, I would turn this off now, play it, then come back and see how our game compares to yours. If you never intend on playing this, then by all means, listen in. For those following along at home, we are now starting the mystery of the Moon Spire. So, our scene... Oh, so and with me tonight is one of the regular fixtures of the podcast, Jeffrey.
I'm Jeff, the player character.
Characters, plural. Jeff, who you're playing?
Okay. I am playing Matt Baker. He is a engineer, a chemist, and an occultist. Mm-hmm. And he is from another world.
He is.
He's sort of a strange Doctor Who clone.
Yeah, this is... I'm opening up your character sheet on the feed here. This is what Matt looks like.
Yeah. And I am Trader. He is a shape-shifting goblin raven. He's a soldier, a temple ward, and an urchin. Mm-hmm. And he's actually, strangely enough, sort of the party's meat shield.
He really is, actually.
Yeah.
It worked out really well, so I just opened it up. Trader is a, for those mechanically inclined or mechanically interested at home, he is a goblin with a shape changer template applied on top. So he turns into a giant raven. So...
In fact, he's almost never in goblin form.
Yeah, I think he's always been in like were-raven or in raven form.
Yeah.
So where our scene opens is on this, it is dusk. The sun is nothing but a smoldering ember in the western sky. There are long shadows that are cast about the land. What we see is a small farming village that is surrounded for miles around by other farms. And then there are about 3 roads that lead into this this little town, and on one of those roads there is a figure riding on a horse, and his cloak is his riding cloak is sort of pulled tight against him. His hood is up. With the chill of the trying to ward off the chill of the evening. The moon looks like it's going to be struggling, or the stars, I should say, are struggling to poke through the remaining light. And we hear this beat of heavy wings as this raven comes and lands on his shoulder. And as he rides past sort of the last edge of the town, we see a large sign that's crudely painted, and the sign says Carbuncle. Now, this is the town of Carbuncle. On the horse is, of course, our intrepid hero, Matt. And on his shoulder is his trusty companion, Trader. Now, you have come to the town of Carbuncle as a result of your research. Now, you may recall in the last adventure, the sort of last big thing that happened is you guys had been hired by a fairly prominent and rich guy in town named Master Dream, who had hired you to sort of track down what happened to his daughter. Your adventuring companions who are not with you at this point had tried to rescue her from some kidnappers, and then what they've said is that she has been taken by some kind of like fey extremists or fey creatures and somehow transformed into like a quasi-avatar of the Fey Queen, Titania. So he wants you to figure out what the hell's actually happened and how can you get her back. To that end, you understand he sent some of your companions off to this one set of Fey ruins where they lost one of their companions, and they found some hints at what might be going on. And then recently there was a plague that had been not plaguing, a plague that had been bedeviling the town of Crossings, or the city of Crossings, where you've been living the last little while. Finally kind of came to a head where there was this secret Fey cult underneath one of the mansions in the richer district in Perse, where in the basement of the Cat and Dramus house, you found a massive Fey creature, some kind of fungal giant that was spewing out these spores. And prior to doing that, actually, I forgot, you guys had traveled to an island where the girl had first disappeared. And while you were there, you found a massive iron kind of like canister with a bunch of blades and stuff of a very dwarven design. And within it, you found scrolls. And on the scrolls were written in Trollish, and they were a saga. Sorry, they're written in Dwarvish. They were a saga of the elf and troll wars. Right. So you've been perusing those and other things, trying to find like a next clue as to what the hell is going on with the Fae, what has changed about them so much, because you may remember that the Fae have turned quite sinister over the last little while. They've gone from being playful and whatever and tricksters to being murderous and just downright cruel.
Right. The plague itself is actually the fairies infesting the people.
That's right. Yeah. They would
turn them into like crazy zombie monsters.
Yes. And then these nasty little black Fae would break out of their heads or their mouths,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's what you've been doing, is trying to figure out what. And what sort of caught your eye. Well, I guess there's two things. Is you have you found in your research, this is Matt found in his research, reference to another one of these sort of prisons, and it was near Crossings. Well, you've also learned Crossings, you may remember, is a human town, but in the town, and actually I've got a map here. Let me swap you over to it. Okay, so this is Crossings. You may recall that in Crossings there are these big white spires.
Yeah.
So what these things are is they predate the human inhabitation here, and they're in fact believed to be remnants of the Fey city that once stood here. No one can get inside them. They're all perfectly the same size, and they're effectively impervious to harm as well. So you've been researching, and it seems like Crossings, the name Crossings, is a translation again of a much older name, which is effectively Crossings, just in Elvish. So this place, this very place itself, has some kind of magical or supernatural aspect to it that we can remember. Also, that Matt, he first arrived here too.
Right.
So what you found was that there is, you heard about this town called Carbuncle. And Carbuncle is, I think I have a map of the overall, yeah, I do, Northern Reach. Here we go. So this is, Crossings is right here. And then a little further to the east, right around here, I think, where I'm pinging, right where the S is where Carbuncle is. It's kind of a byway between a couple of roads that lead in different directions. And what you've been hearing is there's folk tales of this really eerie white spire or white tower that appears under the light of the full moon. It's also said to be accompanied by horrific, maybe not horrific, but really unusual supernatural manifestations as well. Water being changed to blood, dishes or chairs or whatnot stacking themselves. Just really unusual behavior that you recognize with your expertise as being evidence of the Fae.
Right.
So
okay. So there's crazy Fae things going on here at Carbuncle.
That's right.
Specifically at the full moon.
At the full moon, and you happen to be riding into town 2 days before the full moon. As you're riding into the hamlet is really not there's a caravan track where caravans will overnight on their own. So there's a big beaten down area, and there probably is. This is I believe late summer or early fall at this point. So on your there probably is quite a few caravans that are sort of circled and are cooking, have little cooking fires going and whatnot in the caravan area. Another thing you notice is while there are effectively big swaths of late summer grain that is growing in the fields you've been passing, when you run it right into Carbuncle itself, on the northern sort of gentle slope that goes up to this little hill, there is a stretch of weeds and brambles that are speckled with fleshy white flowers, and they catch the sort of dying orange light or pinkish light of the setting sun. It is a stark contrast to the rest of the or the surrounding countryside, the farmland, I guess, that you've been riding through. Now,
and so they catch Matt's eye.
Yeah. Now, in town, there is. You've maybe asked some travelers or some merchants in crossings about Carbuncle just to get a sense of where can we stay, or what. And what you've heard is if someone isn't willing to stay in the caravansary, or I mean, it's not a caravansary because there's no buildings or whatnot, but sort of that collected area that's used by traveling merchants. There is a place called the Stump, which it's the public house, and it does double duty as apparently the town hall, and you can pay some coins to sleep on the floor in there. The other thing you've heard is that the people of Carbuncle are particularly weird. They're odd. And that's really what's ringing in your mind as you see there is a farmhand and his son who are walking, past you to head out of town, no doubt heading back home. And the father looks up at you, and he has one enormous eye, like this giant, far larger than should be normal eye socket with this big bulbous eye that looks at you and kind of flicks closed as if it's like a bullfrog's mouth closing. And the boy walks with this really weird hump, and it seems as if his arm is displaced on the slightly to the back of his rib cage. And they sort of look up at you and then look forward and carry on. They don't spare you any.
That does the huge double take. He glances over to give them a nod, and then he goes back to riding, and then he's like,
yeah.
Whoa!
You look back, and the kid is actually looking back on you, and then I guess the father sort of notices and sort of whacks him, and the kid, turns his hunchback back and keeps on walking down the street. So, and you can hear there is a little bit of sound coming out of the two places. There's the Stump, and there is the what do you call it? The caravan area.
Okay. I think that I would stay in the sort of town hall option.
Okay. So you make your way
on the floor, I guess.
Sure. You wouldn't. You're in good company in there. So you go up and it looks like there's like a hitch outside to tie up your horse. There's not really like a stable or anything like that. But you can hitch your horse up outside. You hop down and you walk inside. Inside the stump, there is a small group of what sort of look like traveling merchants who seem all to be engaged in, and their caravan guards who are sort of engaged in, some kind of the typical conversation you see in a roadside tavern. Separate from them, there's a small collection of locals who are all kind of chatting, and you can tell they're locals because every single one of them has some sort of physical abnormality to them.
Okay.
There's one that's got a pig nose, like a literal pig nose. There is one whose skin seems to hang like it's, like he's got not an ounce of fat on him. You can almost see the outline of his cheekbones and whatnot on his face. Food seems to like slop out of the sides of his face as he sort of chews away on whatever he's eating. There's a guy who's got his hood turned up pretty tall, but you could swear that when the light hits the reflection of his eyes, they've got like a segmented insectoid appearance to them. And there appears to be a serving girl who you think is carrying a tray with some kind of tentacle rather than a hand. So as you walk in,
Matt's never seen anything like this. These deformed people.
No, I don't. I mean, I think you've heard about that. I mean, like elves, for instance, have a wild variety of different physical appearances. They have certain things that are sort of normal, but it's to be honest, goblins as well. So goblins, elves, hobgoblins, all dramatically vary in their physical appearances. So if there is a powerful fey aura in town, it could account for the inordinate number of gross birth defects that are you're seeing on these people.
Right. And I'm here looking for another one of these prisons, did you say?
Yeah, you think there may be another one of these tower prisons, and if this one, the other ones that you've gone to so far, well, I guess the one you've been to so far, that Fey prison, someone beat you to it. Because and it wasn't you guys, it was Junis and Millar and Hobie and Eric who did it. They found that it was already opened and that something had already been in there. They had told you about this Fey knight that they had encountered who had claimed that it was too late, that the prisoners were free. And actually, they did tell you as well, in the basement of this building that they found in Crossings, there was this giant iron cube in which they found this some kind of horrific creature that used inhumanly sharp blades to dismember or disfigure its victims. There's one local preacher who is now blind and insane as a result of the predations of this creature. So
Matt thinks that by finding this prison, he may be able to get more information about the nobleman's daughter.
Or about what the Fae are up to as well.
Right, who the prisoners are there, why they've captured these people.
Yeah, because I think that Matt has sort of it's sort of become apparent that whatever reason she's been taken is part of some plan.
Is there any signposts or indicators or specific things that Matt would know to look for to locate this prison?
Well, what you've heard is that it only manifests on the full moon, which will be tomorrow night.
I see. Okay.
You wanted to, 2 nights from now. but you wanted to arrive out of an abundance of caution, I think, to make sure that you were here when it when it may manifest.
So there may be locals who know where this thing manifests.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, or I'm trying to think if you would have. Why don't you make an occult check for me, please, or a challenge? And remember, just that in Shadow of the Demon Lord, difficulty 10 is what you're rolling for. While you're doing that, and you'll have a boon on this because of your occult check. I just got to run to the washroom very quickly and grab my tea. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm going to refill my drink too.
Okay.
Sorry, fans. It's not a proper gaming session if I don't have some scotch beside me. Okay, occult roll. Okay, just hit this. One thing. Well.
How do you do?
Yeah, Max.
Holy shit. Okay, so you know what? Here's what I'll say is that you could have actually arrived on the night it will manifest. Like you've precision timed it to know when this thing, the tower itself apparently actually manifests the night before the full moon. The full moon stays for the full moon, and then one day afterwards as well.
Oh, okay.
And where it's been said to manifest is on this something called the Bitter Heath, which is supposed to be a field on a slope that is surrounded by death white flowers that are surrounded. So death white flowers with nasty little thorns on them. So you think that swath of flowers that you saw when you first rode into town, that's likely the Bitter Heath.
Right. I need to. Is there something I can do to prepare myself to fight these Fey creatures with just Matt and Trader? Like.
Yes. Here's what I'll say is because Trader probably is not crazy about you doing this. Is you will have crafted magical bullets of cold iron.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, because you've got those. You've got that spell to craft ammo, right?
Yeah, right. I've never really used it, but
I think because we've always said that that's happening off scene.
Right.
Oh, incidentally, you know, you also Matt still has to pick one more spell. We don't do that right now, but just between now and the next session, take a look at the book and see if there's. I don't think his power went up at level 5. But I know he has both him and Millar have another spell to pick at level 5. Level 5 is your.
Yeah, he's power 3.
Oh, you did get +1, which means you pick a level 3 spell.
Cool. I'll have to go through them. I don't know. It's been so long, I forgot.
Yeah. Well, perfect excuse to go paging through your book now.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. I do have create ammo as a spell, so I would have done that ahead of time.
Yeah. And then I'm
going to is there a mechanical bonus or anything I should write down?
What is that it will do double damage against Fabe.
Oh, cool. Oh, let me write this down. Cold steel bullets.
Cold iron.
or cold iron.
Yeah, iron is the thing. You'll notice that Trader doesn't want to touch that shit either because it will. It's not only is it uncomfortable, but also like prevents the use of Fey abilities. You may remember that Millar crafted that cold iron net to trap those black Fey when you were trying to figure out what was going on, or black fairy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, as you're sort of standing in the stump, this barkeep comes rolling, sort of walking up to you, and he his deformity is that his. Oh, I've used this already, so let me think here. His
dog ears.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got big. I'm looking at Emmy right now. She's dead asleep because she's been playing with dogs all day. He's got these weird like dog ears, and he walks up and says, "Hello, stranger. I'm Pete, the proprietor of the stump. If you plan on having a drink, it'll cost you. If you plan on staying the night, it'll cost you a little more. But it's somewhere warm, and on a night like tonight, it's good to be indoors."
Sounds good, sir. My name's Matt. I'll take something strong, and I will be staying the night, but I probably won't be sleeping much.
Ah, that's good. We like business. We like business. Your familiar pet, I don't mind him being in here, but you'll have to clean up after him. I'm guessing Trader kind of caws at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you want to take a seat? You can sit on your own. You can sit with the caravan guards. You can try and sit with the locals.
I think I'll go over and talk to the locals.
Okay.
I'll wait for my stiff drink, and then I'll head over there.
Sure. So Pete brings you his drink, or rather the serving girl with a tentacle brings you a drink. She's just, a buxom farmer's daughter kind of thing. She's not unattractive, but she's not particularly attractive either. But she does give you a smile and hands you your drink. And you take a drink, and it's like vinegar.
Oh. Do you guys even know what a good drink is around here?
I says, sorry, it's the night of the full moon. You never know how it's going to affect. Maybe the whiskey or the brandy will not be as off. And he pours something else into a drink and kind of sniffs it and says, this should be better.
Okay, take a big sip of this one.
Yells out to the bar, boys, beer's off tonight. Everyone's kind of, complaining. So you get it. This tastes like liquor. Now.
Okay. I'll head over to the local sort of group.
Okay. So the local group, the guy with the hood pulled up, kind of, pulls it in a little closer. As you walk closer, everyone sort of stops talking, and they look up at you as you stand at the next to the table. What are you saying?
Good evening. Is it just men, or is there women here too?
There's actually just men, I think.
Okay. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Matt. This is my companion Trader, and we are here to investigate the manifestation, the full moon manifestation.
They all sort of look at you, and then they all make the symbol of the new god, and say,
"Okay." Matt makes it just to sort of like endear himself to the people there a little bit.
You may remember that the symbol of the new god is kind of like an Ouroboros snake, kind of a snake eating itself.
Okay, yeah.
That's the symbol that they're making. They say, "Oh, this is the..."
It's like an infinity symbol, kind of.
Sort of. No, like a. Let me show you a picture, actually. Oh boy. Come on, where's the faith book? Where are you? Uncertain faith. Here we go. Actually, I backed the Kickstarter for what do you call it? For there it is. There's the symbol.
Okay. It's the straight up circle. Okay.
Yeah. for their free. What is it? I can't remember what it is. It's a like a pirate campaign thing. Freeport. They wanted to do. Freeport's been published in 3rd edition D&D and a bunch of other things, Pathfinder and whatnot. They're doing a Shadow of the Demon Lord version of it, and one of the things in the Kickstarter that they've managed to reach as well was Shadow of the Demon Lord Companion 2, and I can't remember what was supposed to be in it, but there was something that I was really fucking excited about. So hopefully that comes before our campaign shows up or wraps up. It got me thinking, as like, boy, it's been a while since I got a print book from them, and then that's probably why, because they're working on the Kickstarter shit. So anyway, so yeah, that's a symbol that they sort of make, and they look up and like, oh, the gentleman with sort of the droopy skin says, "You shouldn't be talking about that tonight."
Well, are any of you gentlemen brave enough to show me where the manifestation will appear?
They all sort of look at each other and look back, and then why don't you make a, let's see here. I think it's going to be an intellect check. I'm trying to think if you've got any. I don't think you've got any professions that necessarily apply here. So I think it'll just be a flat intellect challenge.
Okay.
Nice. So yeah, so they what do you call it? The guy with the pig nose says, he kind of snorts a bit and says, "It's easy to find. You just look on the heath, though. If you go there, I wouldn't expect to come back."
Don't worry, I've got my companion. So I just point like the direction of town where I saw the heath before, and I say, "So, right just outside of town this way." It just points.
They also nod and they make the symbol again too.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.
The guy with the drooping skin says, "A proper thanks would be beer." And then you hear Pete say, "Beer's off. Brandy."
I have enough money to buy them a round of brandy, no problem. Yeah, okay. All right, so I send them a round of brandy.
Okay. So they, what do you call it? As you're walking off, the guy with the pig nose again kind of snorts and says, if you don't die, you can buy us another round."
If I don't die, I think you gentlemen will owe me a round.
The guy who's got his hood sort of up, he's like, "Fat chance of that." And they all sort of laugh. So, what are you doing?
I guess I talk to the barkeep or the maid and find out what kind of space is mine for the night.
Well, what Pete tells you is that at about 10 o'clock or so, he'll bolt the door, and then whoever's in gets to stay in. Whoever's out is not getting back in.
Oh, so I don't really get to stay here if I head out tonight.
No, you don't get to get in and out.
Okay, so maybe I wouldn't even pay the money for the night then.
That's fine. I mean, I don't think he would have collected until he either give you back your money or whatever. I mean, I don't think he's
right. Yeah, because I mean, if I'm heading out to this place, then
yeah,
I don't know how long it'll be, and if I come back at 4 a.m., they won't let me in anyway.
Yeah.
So I asked him. Well, actually, I asked him if there's somewhere where I could rest for a few hours now.
He sort of looks around and says, nods. He's like, "I suppose there," and he sort of points at the corner. It's quite loud and whatnot, but if you pay him a little extra, he may be able to find you a little space in the larder.
Yeah, I tell him that's no good, man. You got something a little quieter.
He says,
And I pull out a few coins.
Sure. He says, yes, we can find that. So you do find a place in sort of in the larder, or in maybe the basement, which I guess was where the larder would be. You find a sack of potatoes that you're able to sort of like get into a semi-comfortable position, throw your bedroll down on it, and then, catch a little bit of sleep. And
that's why he asked for the strong drink. He was hoping to be able to catch some sleep before the evening started.
So do you want to get him to wake you before 10 then, so that you're not stuck in here?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can always teleport out, I guess. You've got those spells, so.
Yeah, and actually I've got the pocket watch. So what time about would it be at this point, you think? Like 7 p.m., 6?
Sundown actually it might be quite late because it's sundown in late summer. So it's maybe about 8 o'clock or so. 8.
Okay, so he's only got a couple hours, but I mean he's got all night.
Yeah.
Like he's got about 8 hours of night or something. So
yeah.
I mean, I guess if he sleeps past it, like you said, he'll use his pocket watch or whatever to get out of there. So
sure. Did you want to? One second. There's your mana. Sorry, I was trying to find where your mana is. Do you want to or I guess first off, do you think your watch has an alarm on it? It's an old pocket watch, so I don't know if those actually do have that on them.
Yeah, I don't know. He might set something, but he just looks at Trader and he says, "If you wake up first, you wake me up. If I wake up first, I'll wake you up."
Yep.
He's not. I mean, he's sleeping on a sack of potatoes. He doesn't, or whatever. He's not expecting to like fall asleep all night without rolling over and where the hell am I? Kind of wake up at some point. So
you get a little bit of sleep, and then when you're awoken by Trader cawing at you, and you sort of get up, and you see that Trader's actually a little agitated right now, which he seems to be anytime the full moon comes around.
Right.
So he seems a little worked up, but he seems to suggest that he wants to go. You're feeling, yeah, like you've got whatever your mana and whatever else is at full. You're full, as rested as you're going to be given the full day's ride. It's a cat.
So Matt takes his water flask or whatever he's got for travel out. He splashes some on his face. He puts it through his hair a little bit and fixes himself up. Dusts himself off from the sack of potatoes and whatnot. Yep. Secures all of his stuff, checks his ammunition, holsters his gun, pulls out his pocket watch, and checks the time.
Okay.
What time is it?
It's, let's say, you tell me, do you want it to be after the time for it to close or what?
Yeah, maybe it's after 10 already.
Okay. So let's, do you want to be really late or do you want to be
I don't know, like getting close to midnight, like sort of the witching hour when most people would be afraid to head out, that's for sure.
There's maybe only a few caravan guards that are still up, drinking. Most of the room is cleared out. There's still, Pete is still at the bar, kind of, half asleep. And you walk up and he sort of like his dog ears sort of perk up and he looks over. He says, "Oh, I thought you were going to do something else." He sort of nods.
I am heading out.
He says, "Oh, the door's been locked. Can't open it till dawn."
Matt looks at him. He says, "That's no problem. No problem at all." And he pulls out his pocket watch and he teleports out to the front of the building.
Oof. What is is there any manifestation that happens when he does that? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Let's see here. Did I write down this thing? No, not really.
Okay. So
I think he just I can't remember. At one point I did describe it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to remain consistent with the. I think it's like it's like a distortion for everyone that's there. Like he's there and then he's not. Like just yeah.
Okay. So you're just suddenly gone. You have no idea what the reaction is. Or maybe you do hear kind of a wow from when you're outside the stump. How far does it teleport you again? I don't remember.
It's a short distance.
Okay, so like 25 feet. Okay, so you're not far outside the tavern, but it does feel quite far away. There's a bit of a mist that's forming on the ground. The full moon is beginning to creep its way up the eastern sky, and you feel everything is cast in kind of a eerie, like whitish blue color. And you see, you look back towards the Bitter Heath and sure enough, there is this fine white spire that stands almost like translucent, or not translucent, but almost like shimmering with the reflected moonlight in the bluish dark, and it is wreathed around this unearthly carpet of white flowers.
Matt looks at Trader and he says, "You know, if it wasn't so creepy, I'd say it's beautiful."
Ah! He said, which Trader said means it's both.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna head over there. I'm not really a stealth character, or like, you know, someone who's going to sneak. I mean, I guess I'd be as stealthy as I could without, you know, being comical about it.
Sure. So unfortunately, there's not really any with the full moon and these white flowers and it's really nowhere to hide. So you're going to be conspicuous walking up to this thing regardless. So
so then he doesn't even bother. What
kind of shoes or boots does Matt wear?
I kind of picture like sort of a Doc Marten style, like an old school leather shoe kind of look.
Love it. Okay. So as you're walking your way up the hill, you can see that like your boots are being scratched to shit by the thorns that sit underneath on the vines of these white flowers.
Oh, they're really thorny.
Yeah. There's likely a reason not a lot of people make their way up this hill. But as you're getting closer, you're seeing that the tower itself is a thin spire of opalescent stone, 12 yards in diameter and terminating in a sharp tip 40 yards high. So it's a slightly higher than the towers that are in crossings. There is a blue light that shines from a hole. I'm sorry, what am I doing here? There is a door on the front that seems to have a slight glow around the edges. The door seems to be made of the same material as the tower itself.
Okay. Trader takes off from Matt's shoulder and sort of flies up like he does when he's surveying something new.
Sure.
And as Matt gets close to the door, he calls out.
So Trader can sense that there is something distinctly and powerfully connected to the Fae, or that this thing is something distinctly and powerfully connected to the Fae. There are great magics that have been wrought around this thing. And would you make you can make an occult roll for both Matt and Trader.
Sure.
And I'm not going to, no banes or boons other than what you get from your professions. I'll give actually a boon to Trader because he's Fae.
Trader rolled very terribly. Literal one.
Trader's he's not sure if it's the sort of nauseating, vibrations coming off of this thing, or the impact of the full moon, or what. But he's just very, very agitated and distracted.
Well, the Fae, he hates the Fae. They always throw him off.
Yeah. Matt, on the other hand, you can feel that there is powerful sorceries that surround this thing, a great and far more powerful than maybe you've encountered, except for maybe a handful of times. Some powerful being wrought its will around this thing. But if you were to give it a word, metaphysically, or a description, metaphysically speaking, it feels like that thing is fraying at the edges. Almost that whatever secured this thing in the hidden realms, it seems to be failing.
Mm. Okay, so as Matt gets close to the door, he calls out. He says, "All right, you little face shitheads, either come out and stop me, or I'm coming in."
Okay. There is.
He pulls out his gun.
Okay. So you're looking around, and apart from the sound of Trader's wings as he lands on your shoulder, there's no apparent response.
Okay, then I'll reach for the door.
Okay. You reach for the door, you grab it, and as you reach, there's a handle that like appears, seemingly made of the same material as well, too. And you sort of pull your hand back, and it disappears. You put your hand forward again, and then it manifests.
Then Matt sort of does like a scene like you'd see in sort of a comedy action thing where he's like putting his hand in, pulling it out real quick, trying to like deke out the door, turns his back to the door, pretends he's not looking at it, reaches his hand back, peeks to see if the handle's appeared, you know?
Yeah, and every time your hand gets near, it appears.
Okay. And then eventually he just opens it and throws the door open. Okay. Or twists it and tries to throw the door open.
As you throw the door open, there is a baleful blue light flickering that is cast out, cast by what he sees inside. It isn't harmful, but do you step inside?
So he can't really see anything. It's this blue light coming out.
I guess what I'm trying to do is it's 9 o'clock now. If we want to wrap up with an hour of a session, I won't tell you what's in there.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So Matt walks inside the door.
Yeah, he pulls out his gun, he puts it in front of himself, and he walks into the blue light.
Okay. So as he walks in, the door gently closes behind him. The handle disappears. And then that little edge that we described with the little light going out seals. So it is now a seamless white exterior on this tower. And there's nothing but the sound of the gently blowing ivory-colored flowers blowing on the bittered heath.
Nice.
So that's where we'll leave the session for tonight. We'll pick it up again next week. For those listening at home, thanks so much for joining us for this fairly short session of the Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign. Unfortunately, Jeff and I chewed up about an hour chatting before we went live, so it is us to blame for the shortened session. But we hope you enjoyed, and we hope to see you again soon.